生气的温柔，埋怨的温柔的脸。
Darling! Crazy high note right on that beat floor. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the vocal analysis series, where on this show, on this series, all we're doing here is we're studying the voice and making it as simple as possible. Because let's face it, learning how to sing can feel confusing. I get it. You've been on YouTube all around. And so hopefully through this series, I can break it down and share some of my own learnings. This is me documenting my own learning as well. And so if this is content that is up your lane, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the team. And also, if you're looking to get some more help for your voice, or if you're looking for a systematic way to improve your voice, check out the link in the descriptions. I've got some courses and voice lessons that can really help you get your voice to exactly where you want. And so today, we're actually going to be breaking down one of my favorite singers. His name is JJ Lin, and he's singing the song called Jiangnan, which means River South. Now, this song is in Mandarin, and frankly, my articulation isn't the best, but we're here to study, we're here to grow, we're here to learn. And I wanted to study JJ because for those of you who don't know, this guy's renowned in the industry for being a high note machine gun. He'll be knocking out high notes again and again and again. He just kills it in his upper range. And so I wanted to study him. And in fact, I wanted to choose one of his early performances. This performance that I've chosen here is actually 10 years ago. And the reason why I wanted to choose this is I wanted to study that roadmap or that journey that he took to becoming this kind of high note machine that he is now today. And I think studying how he approached things previously would be a great insight into how we can get closer and closer to nailing those high notes. By the way, I'm going to be sharing my opinions. I'm going to be sharing my lessons. If if you observe something different, or maybe you've got a different opinion, drop it into the comments below. I love promoting discussion when it comes to learning how to sing because, we're all on our own individual journeys. And so drop it into the comments below. So let's dive right into it. And let's just go straight into where he starts singing. We'll break it down section by section. The very first verse actually starts here.
到这里就是念，念住过客的思念，遇到了这里缠成线，缠着我们留恋人世间。你在身边就是缘，缘分写在三生石上面，爱有万分之一甜。 宁愿我就葬在这一点。
Okay, so that is basically the verse 1. Now, a couple of things that I really did observe is JJ is really good at keeping his voice super light and easy. And this is something we actually want to apply to a lot of our verses because as much as we want to nail the high notes, we want to nail those, those crazy epic parts, it takes a bit of building up to get them. And so sometimes in our verses, we want to keep it super light, super easy. Now, a big example of this is here.
缠着我们留恋人世间，
缠着我们留恋人世间。 Notice it's not like da 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 da. It's not really like kind of full. And part of this is his kind of natural tendency as his voice. If you study his voice, he is someone who's got a bit of a lighter kind of timbre. Like it's not really naturally that strong compared to like a voice like mine, which is a bit thick and heavier. But we can always learn to sing our verses a lot easier and a lot lighter. And one way you can easily practice this is just choose a section of your song, choose a line of your song, and try to break it down into 3 very different volumes. For example, in this melody, na 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 na, you can try sing it at a soft volume first. Na 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 na. Go to maybe like a loud volume. Na 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 na. Or maybe find something in the middle. Na 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 na. Finding something like that is going to be really awesome to give you these dynamics in the verse. Now, another thing that we can take is in this verse, the phrase actually goes quite high for a guy. It goes up to about like an F4, which is right around that kind of break zone for a lot of guys. The cool thing that I've observed here is he doesn't have to, move his head around when he jumps up to some of those higher notes. A lot of people will kind of go, da 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 da, and then they kind of have to screech and they kind of do all these kind of crazy things to get to that high note. But one little thing you can start practicing is if you've got your support, if you've got your ping, if you've got some of your foundational techniques. 风到这里就是念， when I was singing that phrase, I was trying not to go "风到这里" and like kind of move my head around and do all these kind of crazy things. If I can just keep my head stable, it actually makes the effort required to sing a lot easier. And so one thing you can try to do is when you're singing through a phrase, that's especially if it's a quick dancing kind of phrase, it's moving between a lot of quick notes, try not to move your head around. See if you can just keep everything nice and neutral, nice and relaxed, and see if you can dance throughout the phrase. And if you notice you have to move around, chances are it means your fundamentals aren't there, which means, you don't have your support, right? You're not leaning on the support, because a lot of times these tensions are byproducts. They happen because your support isn't there. Or maybe it's also the ping, the ring of the sound. It's not quite up high in your head. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I got you. I've actually got a course down below called The Fundamentals of Singing. And this is a step-by-step process that basically distills everything I've learned into very simple, easy fundamentals for you to follow. Now, if you want to support the channel and if you want to check it out, just check out the link in the description. So this is a really important skill, making sure we're not kind of having to move our head to hit some of our higher notes. Let's move over towards a pre-chorus, which is a bit of a shorter section, and this kind of starts at 105.
圈圈圆圆圈圈，天天年年天天的我，深深看你的脸，人体的温柔，蔓延的温柔的脸。
Nice, beautiful phrase. Now, a couple of things that I did observe here. Notice that this section is actually quite wordy. For example, if you listen to this first part,
天天年年天天的圈圈圆圆圈圈，天。
there's all these kind of like all these kind of articulation. The thing you want to be careful here is don't over articulate through some of those really kind of fast phrasing, because sometimes it can engage a bit of jaw tension, and then you kind of get stuck. And so if you can just find a nice relaxed jaw and just keep the sound going, keep it nice and legato, try not to over articulate. Now, my Mandarin is not the most fluent, and for those of you who are probably Mandarin, you're probably gonna, nitpick on my Mandarin. That's okay. I'm happy to take that. The most important thing is don't over-articulate. And you'll notice this actually leads quite nicely into another cool detail that JJ adds. Whoa! There's a little run that he does there. And the reason why this is really cool when adding to your own music is it adds a bit of like soul, a bit of flavor, a bit of R&B to your singing. It doesn't always have to be this exact run, but this is really kind of common one, where he's kind of just bouncing between a couple of notes. How you can practice this and how I would encourage you to practice this is slow it down. The first step to getting these runs is being able to hear those individual notes. Like slowing down those musics, being able to hear it, and then being able to do it slowly with your singing as well. Whoa, whoa. See if you can kind of nail it with the piano, and then you want to gradually speed it up. Whoa, 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 深深看你的脸. And over time, it'll get more crispy, it'll get more precise. But this is the process. You start small, start slow, and then you speed it up until you can get it into the context of the song. This is a really nice detail to have. Now, the final cool thing that I observed in this pre-chorus is actually check out this part where he kind of goes. Now, what's actually happening here is if you replay this maybe a few times, you'll notice that his voice kind of switches gear ever so slightly. It kind of shifts into this kind of smoother kind of resonance. See if you can hear it. Pause it and hear it. What's actually happening is there's a bit of a resonance kind of shift happening, most likely into a bit more of his kind of head. And what's really cool about this is it's a really good technique to get out of a shout. So instead of kind of like shouting your way up there, darling, you're kind of getting stuck. If you learn how to move into your upper kind of resonance, darling, it kind of goes into like almost like a little bit of a pocket, and that becomes a bit of an easier spot to sing. Now, my voice is obviously not JJ's. We're actually quite different in terms of vocal quality. My voice is going to sound a bit heavier, but it's still this kind of little shifting of the resonance. Now, one thing you can do to start training this idea is going from an R to an UVA. This is something I actually picked up from one of my coaches, Tyler, and it basically is that contrast and vowel often allows you to shift into the upper pocket really nicely. Just by me switching to a different vowel, the tone almost kind of shifts gears, it kind of smoothens out a bit. this is going to be a cool one to play around with, because especially around those kind of notes where you tend to shout, learning to sing in more of that kind of resonance can help you nail some of those notes a bit nicer. Let's jump more into the chorus and see what's happening here.
不懂爱情情愁街头的我们，都以为相爱就像风云善变，相信那一天抵过永远，在这一刹那冻结了时间。不懂怎么表现温柔的我们，还以为殉情只是古老的传言。离愁能有多痛，痛有多浓？当梦被埋在江南烟雨中，心碎了才懂。
Nice, beautiful, beautiful chorus. So, this chorus. So this chorus is actually quite similar to the verse. Actually, it doesn't really go a lot higher. Probably goes about to the F or the G. So it's not a lot higher. So any of those high notes, you can use that technique before of shifting to more of your upper kind of resonance. That should help you get through that part. You could even add a bit of like a sob tone, which is what he does here, to kind of get to some of those higher notes. I want to focus a bit more on some of the newer things that he has introduced. A part that I found really cool is if you check out this part at 140. It's almost like a little bit of a flip or a little bit of a cry, a little bit of a sob that happens there. And I just found that this added so much to the song. It adds this little extra bit of like solemnness or, a bit of sadness to the song. And you notice this used in a lot of different styles, in R&B, used in a lot of kind of pop music as well. Now, what's actually happening here is I was experimenting with it on my own. It's a bit of like a little baby flip from your falsetto to your full voice. For example, if I slowed it down, it's almost like a little bit of like a whimper, a bit of like a baby kind of falsetto at the beginning, and then you flip it back into your full voice. Play around with this actually. See if you can go, doesn't have to be on pitch or anything. Just see if you can go between those qualities on the same breath. Try not to go over with this, because if you use like every single word, it can sound a bit excessive, but it is a cool little detail to have. And as a little bonus, it really helps, especially if that note is maybe at the end of your breath, or maybe you're starting to strain. Starting from a falsetto and kind of flipping into it can allow you to get into a easier sound versus kind of getting yourself trapped there. And so after this chorus, the song then moves more into a bit of a pre-chorus section. You'll repeat the pre-chorus, but this time there's a bit of a twist. Check it out.
圈圈圆圆圈圈，甜甜黏黏甜甜的我，深深看你的脸，生气的温柔，埋怨的温柔的脸。
So that is the pre-chorus. Now the major difference between this and the first one is, notice how there's a bit more kind of energy being built up. The instrumental is a bit louder. There's a bit more kind of attention being built, which gets released by that high note. Darling! Crazy high note right on that B floor. Now, the reason why this is important is it's that climax of the song. The whole song has been building up to this point. Now, what's actually happening here is it's quite similar to where he goes up to the G4. It's basically just an extension of that, just a couple of notes higher, but because he's found that kind of upper resonance, he's kind of shifted more into the head, and it's a bit of like a sweeter, softer tone. You basically just keep that going. For some of you who might not have that note for you at the moment, one of the things I always suggest is find it in a falsetto first. Get that down first. The first step to getting that note is getting it in a falsetto. Now, if you've already got that clean in the falsetto and you're close to hitting this note, you're pretty close, but you just can't get there. You just got to find that ability to shift into the upper resonance. If you can do that, then you'll nail this note like he does. And so we're getting close to the end of the song. Now, how we wrap this up is basically we come down to this final chorus where he goes at 3:35. Soft start. And this brings us to a nice kind of wrap for this song, the final chorus. One thing that we can take away from this final chorus is check out the way he starts this melody. If we jump over to this part at about 320.
在这一刹那冻结了时间，不懂怎么表现温柔。
So it goes to a slightly higher note. I'll compare it real quick with the one before. If it goes to... So that's the melody before. Budong, budong, versus budadin. Like it kind of goes a bit higher there. The reason why this is really, really cool is when you're singing a song, yes, there is verse, chorus, or something similar. But ideally as singers, if we can bring in something new, something fresh for our audience, it just keeps your audience engaged all the way to the end. And so this is actually something you can apply in your singing already. You don't necessarily need to go for a high note. You don't need to go for like crazy, crazy high notes, but you can start playing around with, the melody, play around with the timing, even playing around with the words, anything that can give your audience a bit of like a fresh experience versus just listening to the same chorus twice again and again. Because that can sound really, really boring sometimes. This is a great idea to spice up your singing and to make it sound even better already. And so this basically wraps up our analysis of Jay Jilin's Jiangnan, which is a great, great, great song. I'll drop a link in the description below of the original performance if you want to check it out. This is a really, really cool song to study and to analyze how he's gotten to the level that he is at today. Team, thank you so much for joining me on this vocal analysis. If you have any suggestions for future performances you'd like for me to break down, drop it into the comments below. And if you're looking to improve your voice, don't forget to check out the links in the description. I've got courses and ways to work with me privately. All the details are there. So apart from that, team, I'll see you all for our next episode. Take care.